So there are two types of resistance I've identified in my life. There are two. The first one is the dragon guarding the treasure. Call this noble resistance. This is the dragon you must slay. You must overcome every morning when you wake up to do your craft, right? And this dragon, right, is often manifests itself as fear, as procrastination, as hesitation that you feel when you do something that scares you, but the thing matters, right? You'll always feel resistance to the things you are called to do. This is what Steven Pressfield wrote about so extensively in The War of Art, and I also wrote about it in my own book. A symptom of noble resistance is a mix of fear and excitement. Maybe it's hard to begin, but meaningful once you start. And after doing it, you feel energized, you feel proud, and you feel more alive. Making this video right now for me is literally a process of slaying the noble resistance. This is my 15th take. I've been at this for 2 hours. My heart was thudding every single time I turn on a video. My hands start sweating. My voice shakes. I have to do it multiple times. This shit's hard for me. And yet it feels like this is exactly what I am called to do. I am called to speak to the noble, the ambitious, and the spiritual ones out there that want to bring forth a new world. Wow, you know? And yet doing it literally creates all types of wars and attentions and excitements inside of me. And my entire quest, I've been a creator for a long time. I've had 13 YouTube channels. I've written a book. I've tried so many different creative processes and styles. And my entire existence could be defined by my relationship and quest through resistance. And the second type of resistance that I've discovered that Steven Pressfield doesn't really talk about is corrective resistance. This is the bog of soul drain, or resistance that demands adaptation. And every creative project in your own personal quest through life is this insane mess of positive resistance that you got to overcome and corrective resistance that you need to listen to and adapt from. So corrective resistance is something that signals you are off path or you're doing something out of fear, out of obligation, or ego. It's your soul rejecting a false task. And honestly, the easiest way to see corrective resistance is in relationships. One of my biggest regrets in life is staying in relationships too long, right? When I was constantly cycling and looping into confusion, into doubt, it didn't really feel right ever. And the relationship was often looping in bad patterns, but we kept trying to make it work, even if my boundaries or trust were being broken. Many of you are in relationships like this, right? And oftentimes we want to work on something. We really want to work on it, and I think it's noble, like definitely make your relationships work. But at a certain point, we have to come to terms with oftentimes we're holding threads that aren't ours. We're holding on to relationships, projects, or careers that aren't in alignment with our soul. And if you consistently feel dread, deadness, or burnout before, during, or after a task, it's probably out of alignment with you. If you feel like you're pushing against your own nature and you need substances or extreme means to accomplish the deed, it's out of your nature. And if it feels constantly depleting, even if you're good at it, it's not following the golden thread. Now, again, you have to be very cunning with how you address resistance and what kind of resistance it is. I'm not saying to leave your relationships or leave home or whatever it is. Oftentimes you just need to pivot. But the entire process of self-actualization is discerning what type of resistance you are up against, right? And learning to work through it. So my YouTube channel is actually an example of this. You see, my old videos were about deep philosophy. They were full of intellectual rigor, and they were so hard to make. Like reading about Nietzsche or Plato and like going deep into, I hate reading nonfiction now. I was having to do it all the time. I hated writing nonfiction even more. But at the same time, I'm still called to teach. I'm called to speak. Like I'm called to speak on YouTube, but it just wasn't quite it yet, right? And what I was searching for was the golden thread. I just didn't know where it was. And the breakthrough moment came when I realized that I'm a feeler. I'm not really a thinker in my Myers-Briggs. I'm a leader. I'm meant to lead with passion. All my intellect and ideas, these things are cool, but they're here to support my expression and inspiring people and uniting people. I'm not here to be a freaking philosopher. My power is moving the hearts of men. And this insight has been growing inside of me for years. I always knew it was there, but I didn't know it was the golden thread. I just thought it was a pretty cool thread that I was holding on to. And this insight about, my innermost nature, my own dharma, it started when I was writing a book. this idea to write a book, it struck me like lightning, right? It was brewing. I was going to the library. I was getting into history and more philosophy and hiking the mountains after this big breakup. And the psychology of slaying dragons came to me, right? And I felt so inspired. And literally, when I started writing this, I had no discipline. I'd wake up and just doing 30 minutes of writing 2 days in a row felt like the most heroic victory of my entire life, let alone the 6 hours I was doing daily at the end of that writing process, you know? So, but writing this book, I'm getting off tangent here. The resistance was incredible. The entire process was about breaking through resistance constantly, and I learned a lot from it. And I made the whole process of writing 10 times harder than it needs to be because, again, I didn't know what type of resistance I was dealing with. And now that I can reflect upon this process, right, I see that I was called to write about self-actualization and the heroic ideal, but I wasn't called to write nonfiction and philosophy. I hated reading all of that shit, right? And what I was writing about felt like hell on earth. My favorite parts of my book was telling stories, was writing memoirs, was teaching through my experience. And it felt like such a natural, talented joy of mine. And then at the end of that writing process, I wrote a 20-page fictional story, and it literally flowed out of me like divine gold. And it was pure joy to write that story. And guess what? When I was a kid, when I was 6 years old, 8 years old, you know what I wanted to be? I wanted to be a fiction author, right? I wanted to tell stories. And my mom thought I would do this. Maybe that's my final form, right? But anyways, there's a golden thread running from my childhood to that moment where I woke up and I realized that holy shit, I'm a feeler and I'm supposed to speak through stories. And guess what I'm doing right now? I'm teaching and communicating ideas through story, right? And it's not because I'm excessively self-proud. It's because this is the only way I know how to do it. This is my golden thread. So what I'm communicating in all of this is that resistance has two faces, right? And resistance is a freaking sneaky devil. But the best practice here, when we're coming to this conversation of beating resistance, is freaking go into it. You see, this ball of destiny that is yours, it is full of so many threads and so many colors, and the golden one is going through it. And the resistance is diving into the bush of threads and continually finding the golden one. But the problem is so many artists, they don't paint. So many creators, they don't create. And so many builders out there don't build because of resistance. This voice in your head is telling you to wait for tomorrow, wait for a better time. Not today. I'm going to go do something else. Resistance creates a million excuses for doing the thing that you are called to do, right? And because of this, most people consistently reject their destiny, right? So if you are on the path to self-actualization, the thing you need to do is go conquer the resistance in front of you. Like follow your own heart like a madman.